Fumos. Fumo, 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 Fumo. Fumos are adorable. Fumos, those soft plushies that are cute, huggable, and something that a decent amount of people collect. But for a majority of people within the West, the prospects of buying and collecting Fumos is rather tricky. So I wanted to make this video as a comprehensive-ish, at least at the time of making this video, guide for all things Fumo for a non-Japanese person. However, you may be asking yourself, what is a Fumo? Well, if you clicked on this video and are asking yourself this, I would ask why you clicked on this video. But regardless, Fumos, or Fumo Fumo, is effectively a play on words on the Japanese onomatopoeia mofumofu, which basically is used to refer to the sound of something soft or fluffy. Hence why a lot of people who collect Fumos describe their collections as soft girls, soft friends, or just softs. But back at the matter at hand, Fumos themselves are a series of plush dolls based off of characters from the Touhou project series, with a unique chibi style released by the company known as Gift. Fumos as a style originate from an angel-type doujin known as Sakuya-san and Inu Sakuya-san, which depicts the character, Sakuya, in possession of a Inu Sakuya, which literally means dog Sakuya. A cute, chibi version of Sakuya with dog-like features. Said character was transformed into a plush variant by Gift in the month of August of 2008. And while not expressly a part of the Fumo line of products, it is oftentimes considered the first Fumo. At around the same time, there was also a release of a Reimu and Marisa Fumo at that year's Comic-Con as well. Since then, they have churned out at least one new Fumo variant per year, with the number steadily declining overall in recent years, due primarily to Gift shifting focus from the creation of Touhou plushies to the creation of Fate and Idolmaster plushies, as that's where the money currently lies. Alongside traditional Gift Fumos, there have also been several other releases either directly or tangentially related to Fumos. Gift released two Fumo-esque hand puppets in 2009 of Marisa and Reimu, but have since done no re-releases nor additional characters. Likewise, Nendoroid, yes, that Nendoroid, and Gift also collaborated for the release of 8 Nendoroid-styled plushies for Reimu, Marisa, Sakuya, Sane, Remilia, Aya, Chirno, and Flandre. Finally, there are the Deca Fumos, which literally translates to big or giant Fumos. These massive plushies are around 5 times the size of a standard Fumo, and have a price tag reflective of such a mighty size. In total, there are 5 Decas that have been produced, with the last re-release being in 2012. Reimu, which is the most common, Marisa, Chirno, Remilia, and Flandre, which is the rarest. For this video, however, I will not be focusing or really talking about the Nendoroid or Deca Fumos in any great detail. Just note that the Nendoroids vary wildly in price, like all Fumos, and the Decas also range in price, but rarely, if ever, go below 500 USD. As stated before, a year does not go by without the announcement and release of at least one new Fumo variant, with usually 2 major releases during the year, coinciding with the spring and winter Reitaisais. Reitaisai is a Touhou project convention wherein alongside official Touhou games either being shown, demoed, and or announced, it also serves as a massive fan gathering for all things Touhou. These releases also oftentimes feature reruns of previously made Fumos. Likewise, one can occasionally see in the months between the two cons, Gift doing a re-release of several already made Fumos. Alright, now with that brief history lesson over with, on to the real reasons why people clicked on this video. Where and how can I buy Fumos? How much are they? And what Fumos are there? Well, to answer all three questions at once, it varies. For buying Fumos brand new, first hand, one has several options. Going to the aforementioned cons is the simplest, and from the perspective of the Fumo prices themselves, the cheapest way to go. Otherwise, one can order directly from Gift or from a licensed seller thereof. Ordering from Gift directly, however, requires that one outside of Japan has either a Japanese forwarding address or that they use a proxy service like White Rabbit Express or Bai. Now, like many specialized Japanese collectible goods, one does not simply buy the product. You have to be a part of the lucky group that manages to pre-order said product prior to its full release. Again, barring actually going to a convention and picking them up. For those unable to utilize Japanese services or addresses, there are also sites like AmiAmi and Tokyo Otakumo, among a few others, which serve as officially licensed resellers for Fumos outside of Japan. However, like with pre-ordering from Gift proper, one only has the option of pre-ordering. The benefit of utilizing a seller like this, or first-hand buying in general, is that you are actually paying the MSRP for a Fumo, rather than second-hand prices, which vary massively, and we will get to that. However, do note that for buying from AmiAmi and other Western resellers, they only are provided with a limited stock that they can sell, meaning that, especially regarding the release of a new Fumo variant, one must be vigilant and quickly pre-order when available, otherwise they will sell out of their stock incredibly quickly, as was recently seen with the Tenchi release on AmiAmi, which sold out in about an hour, and it was on sale in the wee hours of the morning for the United States. However, for the vast majority of prospective buyers, they must go through the dreaded secondary market. With this untamed Wild West of possibilities, there are so many options that it becomes ludicrous to list all of them. The cheapest options, and arguably lowest hassle to you, are very similar to the first-hand market. One can either go to Japan and go to stores like Mandrake, Akiba Hobby, or other such stores and find Fumos there, or they can utilize online sellers. There's the aforementioned Mandrake. There are also sites like Suragaya and Yahoo Auctions. These sites should make up the first sites you consult when buying a Fumo. However, being Japanese, they too require either a forwarding address or the usage of a proxy service, which, depending on the Fumo/Fumos that you buy, it can rapidly increase the price given international shipping costs. Some people, though, may be saying, "But Dubert, I want to buy my Fumo secondhand from a Western retailer for any myriad of reasons." Well, dear viewer, you do have options. However, prices vary wildly. The most prominent and reputable secondhand sellers are ones like Solaris Japan. However, when buying from them, expect quite the markup when compared to other secondhand sellers. Now you must be saying, "Dubert, what about sites like Amazon or eBay? I've seen Fumos for sale there." Well, unlike the sites previously listed, the risk of running into a bootleg rather than a genuine article is much higher. A general rule of thumb, especially for eBay listings, is that if there are actual pictures of the Fumo and not just generic factory pictures done by gift, then chances are that it's more real, more often than not. But obviously, when buying from Amazon, Amazon Japan, or eBay, the rule of thumb for when buying on these sites regardless still applies. That being, always check the ratings and reviews for whom you're buying. eBay and Amazon sometimes can net you good deals when it comes to Fumos, because you can find Fumo collectors selling off their collections piece by piece at a slightly higher than retail prices, or you can find someone who just doesn't know what they have. However, you will also run into a lot more scalpers selling Fumos for massively higher prices than they have any right to be. So, with regards to eBay and Amazon, it is a very strong case of your mileage may vary. This brings us to the topic that I have been putting off for a while. What Fumos are there? And just how much do they go for? Well, for what Fumos there are, I'm going to go through a little lightning round listing them all as of the time of this video's release. You ready? Inusakia, Reimu, Marisa, Sakia, Remilia, Patchouli, Alice, Flandre, Sane, Chirno, Suako, Yomo, Yuyuko, Mailing, Chen, Ran, Yukari, Kaguya, Moku, Satori, Koishi, Race, and Toei, Marisa, Near UFO Outfit, Sane 1.5, Kokoro, Flandre 1.5, Reimu 1.5, Remilia 1.5, Sakia 1.5, Racing 1.5, Marisa again, Kaisen, Aya, Hatate, Alice 1.5, Patchouli 1.5, Yuyuko 1.5, Yumo 1.5, Chen 1.5, Ram 1.5, Yukari 1.5, Dan Spring, Chirno 1.5, and Tenshi! This list is of course discounting every individual re-release that each and every variant has had. Now, some of you may be wondering, what the heck's a 1.5? Well, 1.5 is a slight remake of sorts of a pre-existing Fumo, changing basic and anatomical things, maybe a slight outfit change here or there. Well, as it currently stands, it would be impractical for me to give a concrete listing for Fumo prices for every individual Fumo, as any re-release or lack thereof can and will affect pricing. So, I will try and give you a general pricing for the majority and a more specific pricing for the more expensive ones. As a general rule of thumb, if you find a Fumo within the price range of $40 to $60, then that's quite a good deal most of the time, with some characters like Reimu and Chirno being on the lower end of the spectrum due to their sheer amount of re-releases. Anything less than 40 is either a bootleg or a very generous soul, and such deals without express proof of whether or not it's genuine should be left up to the discretion of the prospective buyer. 60 to 90 is the standard for prices, usually, in the West anyway. The majority of Fumos you get outside of sites like eBay and Amazon, for the aforementioned reasons, will likely be in this price range. This is, of course, counting international shipping. However, $90 to $110 is the general price for some of the more rare Fumos. This includes characters like Koishi, Ran, Mei-Ling, and Suako. However, do note that this is the general going rate, and it fluctuates up and down daily depending on the seller. Now, for the rarest of the rare, if you're in the neighborhood for a Hatate, Kaguya, or Toei Fumo, then I've got some bad news for you. These three Fumos are effectively the rarest of the rare when it comes to Fumos, with prices effectively starting at $100. And with the special case of Toei, and to a much lesser extent Hatate, it's just plain hard to find a listing for them in general, with Toei being a Fumo that can go months without a single listing on any site. And oftentimes said listings are in bulk collections where a collector is selling off an entire set of Fumos ranging in price from anywhere from $500 to $1,000. As of now, however, there is a single listing on Amazon JP for about $1,000, which is in no way worth it. As a general rule of thumb for these three Fumos, under $100 is a great deal, usually. But one should not pay more than $150, as even that, it's overkill. Now, on the secondary market, along with scalpers, you also run the risk of buying a bootleg. Sometimes, like in eBay listings, it's rather easy to tell if it's a bootleg, but for a majority of these, they will oftentimes look identical to legitimate listings, which can prove troublesome for first-time buyers. So, when buying from less scrupulous sellers, or sellers who only use factory pictures, always ask for pictures of the actual product to be taken before buying if possible. When buying, always check for a butt tag that's standard on most stuffed animals, as well as check the seam on the back of the head. If it looks hastily strewn together, then it's most likely a bootleg. Another thing of note is that older Fumos came with little ear tags, while newer releases of newer Fumos come with buttons. If these are included, it ups the chances of them being a genuine article tenfold. If you do happen to buy a non-genuine article, always try and do the obvious, and do a chargeback if possible, as the majority of bootleg sellers are Chinese. They will only accept PayPal, which makes a chargeback request possible. Typically, you will only find bootlegs rearing their ugly head on sites like eBay and Amazon, which is one of the reasons why many people dissuade people from buying from them. However, they can also appear on other sites, but because of the frequency of which they appear on Amazon and eBay, these sites are oftentimes considered last resorts for buying Fumos. Because while you can seriously find some great deals, they are going to be few and far between, launched between scalpers, bootleggers, or sometimes both. Now, Dubert, you might be saying, in that list of Fumos you didn't say Xion. Yet I've seen a Fumo of Xion before. Well, dear viewer, this is either because this video is outdated and a new Fumo has been released, or it falls under the realm of custom Fumos. Counting Spring Chirno and Inusakia as separate characters, 29 have Fumos, meaning that the vast majority of Fumo variants that you will typically see are going to be custom made. If you happen to see a Yuka, Xion, Nitori, Nazreen, Suika, they're most likely custom made. With the most well-known custom Fumo makers being Kime, a Japanese Fumo maker, and Yumemi, a Fumo maker most likely on the eastern United States. But aside from them, there are many people who make or have made custom Fumos, as chances are your favorite character might not have a Fumo, and so the only way for them to actually have one is through custom means. Personally, my favorite character is Yugi Hoshiguma, and as such I tried my hand at making a custom Yugi Fumo, and while it's not the best, I still did it, and I like to use me as an example in this case, that one does not necessarily have to be a master plush maker to make a custom Fumo, as prior to me making Yugi, I had literally no experience with crafts work. Now, some of you may be wondering if you can potentially commission a custom Fumo from a more renowned Fumo maker. The short answer is no. The long answer is yes, but if you are Japanese, speak Japanese, and live in Japan. For those outside of the land of the rising sun, you either can make one yourself, or you're really completely out of luck in this regard, as the vast majority of Fumo makers are making Fumos not as a job, but as a hobby. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with that. That is arguably better than turning into a job. Please, don't go contacting big Fumo makers asking for your commissions. If they do commissions, they will say so. Otherwise, please don't bother them, as it would only serve to annoy them and dampen their enjoyment of the hobby, most likely. Now, with regards to making a custom Fumo yourself, it is quite the mountain to climb, as really there is basically nothing in the way of guides on how to do this. You are literally going into uncharted territory. Sure, many have done it, but there's no real guides or guide, predominantly due to the fact that the actual process is usually different for most people. And while I myself am by no means an expert on the situation, I have just a few tips and rules that you should keep in mind if you do decide to make a custom Fumo. Number 1. All custom Fumos you see are going to be using a pre-existing Fumo as a base, so before anything, you should try and find the Fumo that creates the least amount of work for your craft. 2. When selecting fabrics for clothing, you can always use cotton cloth, but that has a tendency to fray. So you should go for a knitted cloth for clothes, or a fleece, or something like that. And as for hair, you should use something like minky. 3. You are going to be hand sewing this. Machine sewing is not really an option outside of the basic clothes making. 4. For dealing with different eye colors, you should utilize fabric paints. 5. If on the off chance that you have to do over the hair wholesale, then you will need to open up the top of the Fumo's head in order to stitch in the new hair for the roots. 6. This is going to take a bit of time, and patience is key. 7. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. They happen, and you should not be too afraid to make the occasional slip-up. 8. Some may recommend using a bootleg as a training dummy of sorts, and while this would theoretically be useful if you have no experience with crafts work, it will not give you real experience with working with Fumos, as the proportions and overall sizes of bootlegs are incredibly wonky. And number 9, do not rely on fabric glue. Just don't. Now, to wrap things up, let's say you're not Japanese. You don't want to make a custom Fumo, or you aren't comfortable with making a custom Fumo, and you don't personally know someone who may potentially make one for you. What then? My favorite character isn't represented with a Fumo. Well, sadly your only option really is to wait. Wait for the spring and winter Reitai to come, to see if there's a potential release for your favorite character. Do note, however, that Gift utilizes the yearly popularity polls for what Fumos they should make, so if your character is not in the top 30 per se, then their chances of getting a Fumo are quite slim, all things considered. And hopefully this video as a whole has served as a bit of an informative video for the prospective Fumo buyers. Hopefully some things were cleared up. I hope I made sense. If I didn't cover something, please post it in the comments and I'll try and answer. And if I got anything wrong, also post in the comments. I'll pin those comments that, say, hey, you got this wrong. I want everyone to get a clear picture of what's happening and what is the truth in this regard. And I truly hope and urge anyone that is thinking about making a custom Fumo to just go and try. The worst that can happen is you're out of some money. It's not the end of the world, and hopefully for those of you that are looking for Fumos or thinking of buying them, this video persuaded you to get into the hobby. I thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.